Well, welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. We have our friends from the think tank, Caitlin and Nick, will be joining us. Without further ado, Nick and Caitlin.
Well, thank you all so much for having us. We're excited to be here. Full transparency, Think Tank is in a little bit of a transition. We're searching for our current director, but Nick and I are holding down the fort at the moment with the rest of our team. And really thrilled to be here. I work with advisors very closely with Schedule for Success. And that also is going through a bit of a renaissance slash, we don't really know the future, but we're working through some decisions that are being made. So um, can be as transparent as possible, and we'll have lots of time at the end for discussion. But we have some exciting things to share with you all about our services. I think there's kind of a mixed group here of folks who have been at the university for a very long time and perhaps folks who are brand new. So we actually were just going to go over this presentation that we use for orientation with our drop-in hours. And then we added like slides and like tips and tricks for advisors specifically, because we want to make it actually relevant for the work that you all do. So please feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I think this is pretty informal. But yeah, my name is Caitlin. I'm one of the associate directors. I oversee our academic coaches and the Schedule for Success class and or program and the SAS class. And I'm here with my colleague Nick, and I'll let him introduce and take the wheel.
Hey y'all, good afternoon. Hope everybody's day is going well. So my name is Nick Senergy, and I'm an associate director with Think Tank. So I've been here actually since 2018. I ran the Writing Center up until basically last year, and moved now into this associate director position where I supervise content tutoring and supplemental instruction and the Writing Center. So just want to echo what Caitlin's saying here. This is only as useful as we can tailor it to your specific need and the students that you see. So yeah, drop in, and if there's something I don't know the answer to, happy to run it down and get back to you, because I am still kind of getting the lay of the land of my role here. So thanks very much for being here and for hanging with us for a minute. Cool. Well, I'm thinking we could probably, hang on just a second, y'all. Moving between screens here. Thinking we could probably get rolling with the kind of basic stuff. So what most of y'all probably know, Think Tank is basically an umbrella for a lot of different models of student academic support. We really try to think about academic support in a very holistic kind of way, but it gives us a place to be able to really connect and sort of build around the students at these specific points of need. So of course I mentioned the side of the house that I oversee the content tutoring writing center, and then supplemental instruction, and then math exam prep I'll discuss here in a little bit too, but that's also on my side. And then Caitlin's got a very robust side of the house over there that deals with academic skills and academic coaching. And then test prep right now is our graduate and professional exam preparation courses. And these right now live in kind of another region under Think Tank that's sort of in flux right now that we've been kind of tinkering on. We get a couple of, there are some misconceptions from time to time about the services. And one thing that's important to continue to remind folks is that most of these services, the vast majority, are free. And I'll show you some of the size and scope of those here in a little bit. But I do think just for y'all, because y'all are, y'all have more of the institutional conversation, I'm sure that you hear, Think Tank, in terms of its legacy, where it came from, grew out of the idea that it was going to be kind of self-supporting with revenue. But that was years ago. And we've been moving steadily kind of away from that into, these sort of other funding structures with an emphasis on trying to make sure that there are as few barriers as possible for students, basically. Cool. Caitlin, you want to pick this up?
Yeah, sure. So we have several locations across campus. Our main one is in the Bartlett Academic Success Center. So behind me, this virtual background is Bear Down, and that's where the Writing Center is. But across the Sky Bridge, right behind Bear Down building, is the Bartlett Academic Success Center. I know there's quite a few advisors up on the fourth floor, but for folks who aren't familiar, we would love to have you. Please come to the front desk. You can ask for a tour. Nick and I will come out. We would love to see you. We have tutoring spaces in the Bartlett Academic Success Center. Our academic coaches are there. And then our suite of offices are there for our professional staff. We have about 30 professional staff on our team at the moment. And we have over like 250 student workers that span from tutoring to supplemental instruction to academic coaches, undergraduate teaching assistants, writing center tutors. They're kind of all over the place. But that's not our only location where we have services. We also have services in partnership with Eller over at McClelland. And we also have them at Bear Down Building, in Campus Rec, La Paz. And we're always kind of reinventing and finding new spots to provide services for students. And the goal, I think, with our satellite locations is to meet students where they're at. So we are kind of everywhere, and we can be anywhere, including requested workshops. We can come to you if you have a class that you're facilitating and you want a presentation about time management or something along those lines. We would love to come and partner with you all as well.
Cool. So we were just going to walk you through a couple of these services, and the assumption is that you're somewhat familiar with some of these services, so we won't hit every detail. That said, this is a great moment for questions and for clarifications on stuff. So definitely drop something into the chat or just jump in and ask the questions if you got them. So that way we make sure it's tailored to the students that you're actually serving and to your group. So yeah, we do content tutoring. We do quite a lot of content tutoring, actually. I'll show you the scale here in just a second. But the sort of bread and butter content tutoring that we do is this drop-in tutoring. Much of it happens over here at Basque. So that's free. Students just drop in. It's a pretty simple process. Go to the website. On the website, we have a list of all the courses that we're supporting at a particular time. So you can actually search. You can actually search by the subject matter and the course to see if we're supporting that. We also have private tutoring, which is done by appointment. But for by and large, most students get what they need out of the drop-in tutoring. So the students figure out if where we're doing tutoring for their specific class. They walk in. If it's here at Basque on the second floor, they're greeted by a desk assistant. The desk assistant checks them in. They're directed to a one of the rooms where we do the tutoring. They walk into the room. They sit down at a table, and they can sign in using a queuing app that we have. But the tables are basically designated by class, and they wait to be, for a tutor to walk over and help them. Tutor helps them so they can stay in that space and work. I think that's one thing that's really important. Students sometimes just need a productive feeling space. So that's something that we definitely have here that we're able to do. Private tutoring, they get a little bit longer amount of time. They get a chance to schedule out in advance. That's a cost thing. That's a fee service. But again, by and large, most folks get what they need out of the drop-in tutoring. So this is what that looks like. You go to the website. Basically, you can drop down by subject and figure it out this way. And then we'll have these, we'll have a schedule of basically all the tutoring that's going on. This is true of supplemental instruction, which I'll get to in just a second too, but it'll tell them where this is located. So just, points of reference here for y'all. Last year, we did about 30,000 student visits, and that's across drop-in and appointments. And that's from about 5,000 unique students. Lots of math, lots of science, but we also do business tutoring. We have a slightly different arrangement with language tutoring so all of these are peer-to-peer. Language tutoring, however, is with the instructors from those departments. So Spanish and Portuguese, for instance, those are instructors who come into our spaces and meet with students in that context. Same sign-in process though. And this is actually something that we have been growing a little bit in terms of the diversity of the folks that we're supporting here. For instance, the Korean language program, we just signed an agreement with them, and now they're doing tutoring in our spaces as well. So same kind of situations. For a student, we try to make it as seamless as possible. They show up, they sign in, and they meet with somebody. But on our side, that's a difference, difference between a peer-to-peer versus instructor-to-peer. The Writing Center. So again, I led this for about 6 years or so. This operates differently. This is not a drop-in service. This is generally indexed to appointments. And we do that in 3 different styles. So one of the styles is to meet on in person. Another is to meet on Zoom. And the third is to do this asynchronous feedback kind of service that we call feedback loop. So for that one, what happens is a student uploads a document, and when it comes up in the queue, a tutor spends about 45 minutes leaving helpful comments in the margins. So they don't actually get up in the paper or anything like that. They're using the margins to comment, and it's very conversational. We're never here just like policing grammar or anything like that. What we're doing is we're noticing patterns, and we're trying to point out patterns, things that are working well and things that can be improved. So this is a peer-to-peer service. So as I mentioned, I led it for a number of years, but now my amazing colleague, Leah Bauscher, is managing the Writing Center, which is really, really exciting. We're about to hire a program coordinator there too. So that staff is kind of falling into place, which is wonderful, which really allows us to kind of open things up. As Caitlin mentioned, the Writing Center also does workshops for courses and for student groups. So, fraternities, sororities, the pre-pharmacy club, if you can get a group of students to stand still long enough, the Writing Center, go out there, tell them, teach them something about writing techniques. We also do a set of writing events, and we've got a couple coming up this semester, including Write Your Heart Out. So come, work on your Valentines with the Writing Center, and Global Write Night, Finals Countdown Write Night. So these are different events that are open to all students. Some of these are like marketed a little bit towards specific groups, like Global Write Night. We market a little bit towards the international students, but all of them are open to everybody. Cool. Just one little side note about these writing events. Part of the idea here is to create a kind of instant community. And if you sit down in one of these spaces and there are good snacks and everybody around you is like typing away, tip, 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 it keys you in, and it makes you think, maybe I'll just hold up and I won't look at Instagram right now. Maybe I'll work on this for a minute. So for any students that need a little additional community and additional sort of motivation, these are good things to recommend to them. So to book Writing Center appointments, going to our website, you can sort by, it's in a lot of places, but you can go to sort by the service kind and go to Writing Center, and you can book any of these three. We also we have a partnership and helped to build the Graduate Writing Lab some years ago. So for graduate students, the Graduate Writing Lab has graduate level peer tutors on the other side. So it's just for graduate students. This Writing Center, the Think Tank Writing Center, is open. It has undergraduate tutors, but they will review graduate or undergraduate work. So keep that in mind. Cool. Okay, so supplemental instruction. So the deal here is a student gets through a class, does well. We hire that student back to sit in the class and be embedded in the class. Then they do study groups that review course material, that help connect students, that extend the understanding of students. And we do those, in conjunction with the class, although it's not the course instructor that's doing them, it's our peer leader. So this is SI. This is a very particular model. We actually recently realized we're the only university in the state that has the accreditation through the SI. There's sort of like an accreditation group that we're like the only one in the state that's had this. We've had this since 2017. It's a good program. It's a robust program. And students find it, I think, I'm not sure how much they see a difference between the course instruction they're getting and this instruction, but for us, we know that this is like a really key moment for them to actualize the stuff that they have been kind of receiving in class. It helps to really structure out a lot of their work throughout the semester. So SI sessions are free. This is not in every class. So this semester, we're supporting about 30 different courses. So these are select courses. Generally, these are courses with high DEW rates or otherwise kind of pinch points in a kind of curricular trajectory. We're also always interested in getting more feedback on which courses would really benefit from SI in this way. And something that I'm really interested in kind of firming up, this is a really powerful intervention for courses. We just need to know where it belongs best, as we kind of move forward here. but also high volume. So again, about 30,000 student visits last year with about 3,000 or 3,400 unique students. One of the really cool things that we're working to build out right now, we've got this partnership with a company that does virtual reality augmentation, like for instruction. So the ones that they've worked on right now are for chemistry and for anatomy, basically. So we've been kind of piloting out these virtual reality augmented sessions where students go in there and they can turn the molecules around and all this kind of stuff. It's a great party trick. Also, we know that there's a really cool curricular intervention here. We're just sorting our way through it to find out how we can best deploy it. So we're looking for the pinch points, for instance, in chemistry, where this would be a crucial intervention that would really open things up for students. But it's exciting, and I think our team is really pumped about it because it gives them another tool to be able to meet students where they are, and that's important to us. Cool, last thing I'll mention here is math exam prep. So the idea here is, this is a fee service, by the way. The idea here is, over the years, we've put together this sort of like high intensity 2.5 hour review session that goes before specific math exams and some of these other kind of important pinch point exams. And so what we do here is we offer this up. We have our some of our content area specialist instructors who are leading these, and they've put together course packets and other things for students. But this is available to students if they need just kind of like, they want a little acceleration in their studying, they want a little more structure, one of those high intensity kinds of moments, and it's billed to the bursar's account. I think one thing that's important here for all of these services is that we're continually trying to remind students that the majority of their time in the collegiate environment is spent outside of the classroom. And what happens in the classroom is super important, but it's all this stuff outside of the classroom that if you want to really maximize what you're able to do, really learn authentically and benefit from all the things that are happening in the classroom, you really need to avail yourselves of all the tools that are outside of the classroom. And in doing that, it takes a second to sort through the things that really speak to the individual learner at these specific points. We have a bunch of different academic models, or I should say academic supporting models, and it's overwhelming, or students don't want to engage or don't necessarily engage with it. They're like, I don't know what the difference between SI and tutoring is, but whatever. So to whatever degree you're able to help them negotiate the learning curve of figuring out which of these fits them at their point of need, that helps tremendously. You say, oh, you're working on a personal statement for a scholarship? Cool. The Writing Center actually can help with that. And meantime, what you're doing is you're meeting them at their point of need and helping them develop as a writer. And that's transferable then into classwork and other stuff. So I think this little cycle of helping them negotiate the learning curve of how to seek out these resources is super important, and definitely a point that I would hope that you would be able to help us with here. And I'm always happy to talk with you about this and how we can do this more specifically. Cool. I'll yield to Caitlin here.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that too. I think we want to help students before they need help. We want this to be a place that they can come and get support before they're in any type of dire situation. Obviously, students get in the situations. I was one of those students. And I think a lot of our team was too, but the idea is good, help seeking behavior before they actually need it. Coming to tutoring is just a good thing to do. You don't have to be struggling to do that. You can come and just work on your homework there if you'd like to, or come and meet with an academic coach, or go to a workshop, or go to the Writing Center for a paper, or whatever the case may be. We're hoping to catch them at any point in their career, but really trying to normalize that coming to Think Tank is just part of the college experience, not necessarily a punitive thing, or they have to come just because they're really struggling at that moment in time. So yeah, just a little caveat to add to the things that you could help us with. And so my area is a little nebulous, but unlike Nick's area is more on the content. It's course specific content. So there's SI sessions on Chem 151. You can go ahead and go to the next slide for me, please, Nick. And so My team is kind of on the opposite. I think we work really well in tandem with academic advisors. I think a lot of times advisors are sitting down with students and they're opening up and disclosing that X, Y, or Z is happening in their personal life, or they need help with time management or something along those lines. That's actually a perfect segue to send them to us. So our team of academic coaches, we have 15 professionals and I think 15 peer academic coaches that are available to sit with students one-on-one. So if you're like I mean, I know busy advising time, like you have 15-minute appointments and you're trying to get students in the classes that they need and get them out the door. But if there's that like one student that you're sitting with and you're like, man, I really wish I could refer them to someone who might be able to help them with mapping out their semester on a page or coming up with a scripted talk to their professor about a grade that they didn't like or whatever the case may be, that's where we're at. So we do have some exciting updates, but I'll go over that in the next slide. But this slide, we have peer coaches. They are CRLA certified. CRLA is an acronym, is College Reading and Learning Association. They have to go through a set number of training as well as contact hours, and then they can level up. So they do go through a pretty structured training similar to how tutoring does. And they're available for drop-ins or appointments. We do have that team of professional coaches, and previously they were behind a paywall. They cost, but we have since opened that. So that's one of our fun new updates that I'll go into in a sec. We also have weekly workshops that are both scheduled and you can request them. So we have one on Zoom and one in person, and it kind of goes over a variety of things. We have topics that are specific for that set week, and then peer academic coaches leading those sessions. So they're usually in the evenings because we know that's where students are more readily accessible and want to attend things like that. And they're on our website. And one's on Zoom and one's in a classroom in Bear Down building. And then we also have some resources on our website that coincide with like mini modules that are there, and they have it aligns with some of the handouts that we use more regularly, like where does all your time go, and semester on a page, and mapping out your weekly schedule and whatnot. So that's our website. And I think if we have time, we'll certainly go back and we can show you our website and kind of just how to navigate that, because I think it's helpful, specifically for advisors who often are sitting in front with students in front of their computers and being like, click here, click here. So for coaching, we meet one-on-one. We have peers and professionals. One big change this spring, and I am working on the messaging, so I will be following up with all of you, especially the heads of advising, but also to UPEC, with our fun new announcement that we're going to pilot and open up professional coaching for 4 free sessions for any U of A student that wants it or needs it. So on the next slide, I'll show you like the process is very simple. But in the past, similar to what Nick was alluding to earlier, we're supposed to be self-sustaining in the beginning with revenue, but we've been moving away from that. And we just really right now, I think, want to focus on making services as accessible as possible to students who want and need it. I think that's like kind of the reckoning that Nick and I are both very pro for. We really want to make sure that we can offer the services to students that need them. But our team can help with anything from actual study skills like pace review or space review or memorization or whatever the case may be, to stress management, time management. We work with students on a spectrum of problems, issues, or just like I said, they just came in because they wanted some support or they wanted to go over something with an academic coach. And we fit on these 4 areas of well-being. It's emotional, intellectual, social, and physical. So we even have like, study strategies around exercise as a learning strategy. And anyway, we do a lot of that. So would you mind going to the next page for me, Nick? So as far as academic coaching goes, like I said, our pilot for this spring, and it's my very intention to make this accessible, not just for the spring, but moving forward, that students can access 4 free sessions with a professional. It's not just limited to peer students. And we have a pretty simple sign-up page. It's on our website. You go to the form, you fill it out, and then they get matched with an academic coach who will then reach out via CatMail and say, schedule your first appointment with me. We are excited about this and trying to get as many students to come in and see us as we can. So I will make sure to follow up with some flyers. We just got them drafted and finalized literally this morning, so that's why I haven't had a chance to send them out today. But yeah, other things that I think I wanted to talk about is I think we're very much a complement to advisors. We are not advisors. We do not claim to be advisors. We are kind of like a campus guide. So we're kind of a mix between counseling / advising, but none of those things. And then like just a guide to the university that is complemented with that holistic and academic support. Other things that might be helpful to know, Schedule for Success is the other program that's housed under my area. And we also teach the class. So this last fall, our academic advisors and our learning specialist instructors, they combined into one big team. So they actually taught the class that the students were in. And then we also serve students that are on academic recovery as well. So they kind of get first dibs of us. We do find that it's hard to get students to actually come to see us for those services, but we're always working on doing outreach and multiple times in a row. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on in my neck of the woods. I just got back from maternity leave, and we have a lot of exciting things coming back. So that's pretty exciting. For advisors too, we schedule in Trellis, and then we're actually piloting having Cat Cloud show who their academic coach is if they're in math and SAS this semester. So that's exciting too. Yeah, and then I see your question. Hi, Brian. It's good to see you too. And yes, we are excited as well. Yeah, they're available to AZ Online. Please send them our way. Shouldn't be a problem. And then as far as test prep, we have a couple that we wanted to just showcase here quickly. We have two that we're working on right now, and this is the one that's like kind of in between being in our think tank home department and in SSRI, which is our larger division. We have the LSAT and the MCAT. So our MCAT is a live synchronous format. It's online, but it's over Zoom. And our instructors have taken the courses multiple times and have built the content off of that. And then the LSAT is in person. And so we are working very hard to make this accessible. The fee structure has changed recently and we're trying to promote. So thinking of any advisors that are in like pre-law or legal studies or in physiology, please check us out. We want to make sure that we're supporting students, and they do get 2 free practice tests, which is pretty cool. And they have access to their tutor, or not their tutors, their instructors, their professional staff members who are pretty much content experts on the LSAT and the MCAT. Yeah. Sorry, I just went over this. So this is just like the general thing, but Nick and I will certainly drop our emails into the chat as well as like a follow-up if we send any of our content over. But we really wanted to make sure we had time for you all, and if it's helpful, we can pull up the website and help show you how we navigate that. But mostly just want to see how you all think and or feel. Any questions, concerns, anything we can do to support you as advisors and the students that you serve? Don't all go at once. Okay, I'm gonna think of your questions. It's totally fine. I wanted to share our website with you all because I think there's a lot of little nuggets here that could be really helpful for advisors to know about. So we're at thinktank.arizona.edu. We have lots of different things on this website. We've been in a bit of the revamp era, but I think probably the most one of the most helpful things is the search by course page. It's pretty neat. So if you're sitting with a student and they're saying, I need help with math, you can actually populate things here. So let's just say like math 112, and they're also in microbiology 181, and they're in SBS 200. That'd be kind of weird if they were in SBS 200 and 112, but you know, we'll just play with it. Let's add one more. Korean, let's do Korean. So as this populates with the classes that we have, you can scroll down and it's going to then show you all of the free support and the schedule. And so this is going to be personalized and individualized to the student that's filling this out. So you can then clear it out for the next student that you're sitting with, but the T indicates drop-in tutoring and SI is that group study session here. And so you can see where they're located, how to get there, if it's online. And so this is for today, but then there's schedules for the next couple of days here as well. You can also make it printable, which is pretty cool. So these are all available for students. It's a pretty seamless way to find the support that they might need. We also have fee-based. So if there is a student that wants more individualized support and they're willing to pay, then of course they could take advantage here. But we always try and start students with the free services because we think that they're just as good. It just depends, I think, on the student learning. And then down here at the bottom, there's the Writing Center of Peer Academic Coaching and then our academic skills resources page. So this is a pretty handy and cool resource that's readily available to advisors and students every day. So we also have like online services, and this is all just how do you connect and joining a Zoom meeting, because some of our services are available online as well. And then down here, it will then show the schedules, booking appointments. So it's all very seamlessly integrated into our website, which if it's green, that actually means that the session is happening right now. So for example, Spanish drop-in tutoring is happening, and you can see that it's green, and that means it's going on. Same with our peer coaching, and there's probably no tutoring at this time. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we had a chance to show you those pieces too. And each of our subjects has a different subpage that you can go and look at. I don't need to go into detail on each of those, but but just so we gave you a brief tutorial. Is there anything else we should show them, Nick?
I think this is good. For a second, I think Adora has a question in the chat. Do you find that academic coaching is more or less helpful for any specific class of students, first year versus senior, for instance?
That's a really good question. I don't know if we've intentionally done any particular feedback on that per se. Right now, our focus has been historically on Schedule for Success in the fall, and that's like for first year students that place into Math 100 or they don't have any placement. And it's, in an effort to help that transition to college. But I certainly think it could be helpful for anyone, specifically students who are maybe struggling with like knowing their place at the university or navigating how to talk to their professors, or they're just not quite adept at their time management skills yet. So I think we can certainly, I don't know if it's specific. I think it could be helpful for anyone. I think seniors as well. I think sometimes students get into a little bit of a facade that they've like figured it out, or that they feel a little bit of embarrassment for seeking out help, but I don't think it ever needs to be that way. We're always ready to support them, and it doesn't have to be limited to first year students. In fact, we want to see them back every semester if they need it. Yeah. Let's see. How can advisors nominate students? So yeah, that's kind of one of the switches that we're doing. So instead of having advisors nominate students, we're just having students sign up themselves. I think if you can direct them to the page and have them fill out the form, that's probably the best way. However, if you want to, we can always do outreach to them as well. So I think you could always email me and I could forward that to the leads of our coaching team to then see who might be a good fit with that student. But yeah, we used to have a form where you could nominate them, but we had it limited to only 20 students per college, which seemed a little silly in retrospect, because now we have capacity, we want to support more than that. So we did away with the nomination form because we figure just let the students sign up themselves. But if you have someone that would be really benefiting from it, please send them our way. You can email me directly, and I can make sure I get them connected to our coaching team. How many, do you see that question, Nick?
I do. Jimmy, I'm looking at your question here about languages. So far we have an agreement with Spanish and Portuguese and French and then Korean. We have heard that there are several different language programs that are in need of space for this kind of support for students. So I would expect that coming up pretty soon, we'll probably see some more like and have that kind of portfolio grow a little bit. But right now, those are the ones that we've got. And as I mentioned before, just to remind everybody, so that's like we provide spaces for the instructors to be there, and the students come in and visit with them. Cool. Oh yeah. So Marco, I'm looking at your comment or your question. Are there certain times of the semester that are busier than others? How long of a wait in a queue can students expect things? Yeah, I think depending on what course, if we're talking about tutoring, for instance, drop-in tutoring, depending on what course, you can definitely look at like the sort of weekly flow, the ebb and flow that are very much key to, leading up to tests and things like that. So there are moments when, there's like a queue that's waiting outside in front of the tutoring rooms for the drop-in tutoring. If we're talking about writing appointments, book up there during midterms, basically like, 5-6 weeks in, and then around finals time. But basically once the tutoring, or I should say the appointments book up around spring break, they stay pretty much at capacity for a while. So it could be that a student needs to be looking a few days in advance, perhaps even the next week at the busiest moments for writing. And the feedback loop is very, very similar. Does that address what you're asking about, Marco?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Lori, I see your question here. When do you recruit tutors? So we can tell students to look for openings around the right time. Yeah, thank you. That's wonderful. Thanks for that help. Yeah, so definitely around March. The content tutoring folks tend to hire up as fully as they can in March and April for the fall. And that works for the writing tutors as well, the writing shop as well. Content tutoring, though, it's hard. There's so many courses that are supported. It's actually hard to fill up all of the staffing that we need to on that. So we usually have a little bit of a trickle of new folks coming in even throughout the remainder of the year. So thank you very much for that. The one thing that we didn't really mention very much here in this discussion was we have some agreements with the cultural centers as well, where we support them through a different kind of funding line to be able to provide tutoring services to students who are affiliated with the cultural centers. Excuse me. And one thing that's really been a focus of mine recently is to see if we can do more recruiting as well through the cultural centers. So if you have any connections or affiliations with the cultural centers, that's an avenue. I think one of the things we noticed in those conversations, and this might be true of a very wide swath of the student population, there are students who are totally qualified and could be totally kick-ass tutors, but they don't think of themselves that way. So helping them recognize, like you've got this ability, you have a demonstrated ability in these various subjects. You could help other people. Like this could be your thing. Like you could make money off of being, actually helping other people and get fulfilled in that way and whatever. So sometimes just connecting those dots for students is really helpful. So I appreciate any help there you had. An online student become a tutor? Kat, that's a great question. Let me take that to our tutoring team and ask. I don't know the answer to that.
I think part of it is we need to we can employ students, but they have to be within the state. And then typically meetings take place in person, and so it's better for their shifts if they're like in Tucson. So I think that's the caveat is we can't hire out of state students, and it's much more challenging if they're not in Tucson. Yeah. I don't think it's impossible, but that's just where we're at as a department. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Kat.
So I kind of have a longer question, and it's part of my experience, my first time around at the U of A. And so I remember taking Math 120R when I was a freshman at the U of A, and it was a really hard class. And I remember working really hard, and I did all the homework, I did all the assignments, and then I found that the exams were nothing like the homework that we did. So like the exams were all these really long word problems, and the homework was like, just like figuring out the equations and formulas and stuff. So I remember earlier in the presentation, you mentioning that you sometimes have students that work with you go into classrooms to assess the the curriculum, or maybe I'm misremembering this, but well, I guess what I'm asking is like, do you ever assess aspects of math courses like that to provide feedback to instructors on how they could improve student learning and success, or is that not really kosher? Because I know that, a lot of students try to like take math classes at Pima over the U of A just because of experiences like that. So that's just kind of my experience the first time taking 120R.
Caitlin, I have a short response first, and then Caitlin, I know, is in conversation with math department all the time, but from my side, which is the content tutoring side and supplemental instruction, there are times in various classes where we have a supplemental instruction leader who's a student in the class, and there's a natural kind of feedback that happens when they're interacting with the instructor. I think a lot of our services, though, on the content tutoring and on the supplemental instruction side, and certainly on the writing center side, are very much like keyed into the student and we sort of indirectly impact any curricular decisions. In other words, we're not really in that direct loop, but we do basically try to frame all of our support through the student, and basically say, like, we know this is difficult, student, and we're going to help you to the degree that we can help you. But I know that in supplemental instruction, just naturally, because they're part of teaching teams sometimes, and they're in conversation with the instructors, sometimes we're able to channel some of that feedback back, and it's generally in a sense that's more generalized than like, so and so is having trouble on this. It's more like, I'm noticing that, that said, they're undergraduate students, and this is a person of authority in their lives, and so it is a delicate thing. So from our side, I think we focus mostly on the student, helping the student, kind of commiserating with the student, saying, yeah, that's tough, man. Man, and then try to build the supports we can around that. Caitlin, I'm sure you have much smarter things to say, but.
Oh, I don't know about that. My work is primarily with Math 100, and I have a great close relationship with Michelle Woodward. If you don't know Michelle, she is amazing. I I can't name a more dedicated person to students. So as far as the students that we work with together, we have our academic coaches who teach the SAS class as well. They're meeting one-on-one with students. If they find like a student is struggling with X, Y, or Z, we often are encouraged to create a Teams chat with Michelle directly and say, hey, Jimmy is struggling with his ALEKS time, his topic goals. He's spending 4 hours and getting through 2 problems. Would you mind meeting with them? And Michelle or her team will set up appointments to meet with them directly. So Math 100 is a little bit of an anomaly of a class. It's different. It's not like a big lecture-based class. It's more individualized with ALEKS and where each of the students are at. But if they need individual support, then Math is certainly willing to sit down with them and help. And we can help build that connection, because they may not be comfortable going directly to the math instructional team to say, like, hey, I'm struggling with my topic goals. But they might tell their academic coach, who, because we work so closely together, we meet every semester, and we share updates across both sides of house. And then as far as like the leads of the course or myself, like, we meet with Michelle and her team more regularly as well. So Michelle will take time out of her day at any point to sit down with students. And she has a pretty hard task of supporting pretty much over a quarter to a third of the incoming class that are placing into pre-college level math. So we do the best we can. And we know it's not going away anytime soon, with the learning loss and pandemic that took place. So we're just kind of all on our guard to try and support students as best we can. But that's about the instructor connection that I have, where we are directly advocating for students and getting them connected to their instructors.
Thank you so much. And this was back in 2008, so I'm guessing that they've done a lot of curriculum assessment and changed how they do things with each math class. So
and I think it's so iterative. They have to change it all the time, right? Because because students change all the time, and our situations change all the time. We all went through this global pandemic that drastically disrupted education as we know it. So we're always adapting and adjusting as we can.
Totally. Thank you so much.
We want names, Jimmy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Too far back now.
No names. Don't need names. Cool. We have a question from Jessica. If our online students need content support, but may live internationally and cannot attend drop-in tutoring hours due to time zone differences, are there only options to receive tutorial support by paying for private tutoring? Yeah, that's a good question. I think the offerings for Zoom synchronous drop-ins we've struggled to find the sweet spot for that in recent years, and we're looking for that's something that I think we're going to be looking at more aggressively to try to better come up with a good drop-in on Zoom kind of model. So the private tutoring support is definitely like the cleanest, show up at this time, here's the kind of most transactional piece outside of being able to drop into a Zoom session. But this is something that I think we need to have developed out now, which is a better mechanism for being able to offer, synchronous Zoom support. We don't have asynchronous supports right now as far as online tutoring goes for content areas outside of the Writing Center. The Writing Center does have an asynchronous support. They can upload a document and get it back on whatever timeline, So yeah, I think, Jessica, you're pointing here to a really good point that we need to continue to build out, but I don't know that we have it built out where we really want it right now. There's one other thing I wanted to mention. It's tangentially related. We kind of moved through this quickly, but there's a fee reduction and scholarships, which is a form that we make available on our website for exam prep and some of the other services. And it's worth just taking a little gander at and having that filed away. In the case that this is something that, a student that you support would benefit from. I can show it to you here in a second. It looks like this. So you can request a fee reduction or a scholarship. And definitely, please take advantage of this. I mean, this has multiple benefits, right? One benefit is obviously the immediate benefit for a student if we're able to do this and support them in that way. The other benefit is, and y'all know how the institution works. If we see a lot of these, it helps us advocate and say, look, this is a gap that we need to fill. This is like a need that students have. So being able to kind of, support the students that we can and then try to expand that is helpful for us on multiple levels.
You guys have a timeline for when you're gonna have a director?
They say March. The position's open. So neither of us are on the search committee. So but we hear March will be is the goal for hiring and start date. But we know how university procedures can go slowly. But that's our goal. Any other questions? We can stick around for sure, but thank you for joining us over your lunch hour. And please send students our way. We want to support them. We're here. We have an awesome team that is ready to help anyone. So please send them our way.
Thanks so much, y'all. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank
Nick and
you.
Caitlin. Thank you
And
so
we'll-
much for taking some time today. Yes, go ahead, sorry.
I was to say we'll follow up with all of this. But thanks for having us.
Thanks, Nicole. Appreciate you.
Thank you for coming and stopping by. Have a wonderful day. Thank you,
You too.
everyone.